The explosion threw Sergeant Marcus Chen against the cold metal wall of the prison cell. His head spun as he tried to remember how he got here. The last thing he could recall was his ship breaking apart in space during the battle. Fire everywhere, his friends screaming. Then darkness. Now he was somewhere else entirely. The cell was small and dirty. Strange purple lights flickered on the ceiling. The air smelled like old metal and something sour he could not name. Marcus touched his forehead and felt dried blood. His uniform was torn, but he was alive. "Finally awake, human." The voice made him jump. Marcus turned and saw her sitting in the corner of the cell. She was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Her skin was pale blue with silver markings that seemed to glow softly. She was tall and thin with long white hair that moved like it was underwater. Her eyes were large and completely black. She wore what looked like fancy robes, now dirty and torn. "Who are you?" Marcus asked, getting to his feet slowly. "I am Princess Zarathi of the Veltar Empire." She lifted her chin proudly. "And you are my enemy." Marcus stared at her. The Veltar Empire. His people had been fighting them for 3 years now. He had seen what their weapons could do to human ships, what they had done to human colonies. This alien princess was from the race that had killed his brother. "Great," Marcus said. "Just perfect." The princess's markings flared brighter for a moment. Marcus noticed this but did not understand what it meant. Among her people, the changing light showed emotions. Right now, it showed anger and fear. "Do not blame me for our situation, human. Your people started this war when they refused to respect our borders." Her voice was cold and sharp. "Our borders?" Marcus laughed, but there was no joy in it. "You attacked our mining ships first. You killed families. Your miners were stealing from sacred Veltar worlds. We had every right to defend ourselves." Marcus wanted to argue more, but the sound of heavy footsteps stopped him. 3 large aliens walked up to their cell. They looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Their skin was dark green and covered in scars. They wore thick armor and carried energy weapons. "The prisoners are awake," one of them said in broken common language. "Good. The boss wants to see them." The cell door opened with a loud clank. The lizard aliens pointed their weapons at Marcus and the princess. "Move! Now!" Marcus and Princess Zarathi had no choice. They walked out of the cell and down a long hallway. The walls were covered in rust and strange alien writing. Other cells lined the hallway. Marcus could see different creatures inside them. Some looked human, others were completely alien. All looked scared and hungry. They were led into a large room filled with screens and computer equipment. Behind a massive desk sat the largest alien Marcus had ever seen. It looked like a cross between a shark and an octopus. Its skin was gray and wet. Multiple arms moved constantly, touching different controls. "Ah, my special prisoners," the creature said in perfect common language. Its voice was like oil poured over gravel. "I am Overlord Vex of the Korthak Syndicate. Welcome to Mining Station Omega 7. Marcus had heard of the Korthak Syndicate. They were traders and criminals who worked in the space between human and alien territories. They sold weapons, slaves, and information to anyone who could pay. "You cannot hold us here," Princess Zarathi said. Her markings were flashing rapidly now. "The Veltar Empire will come for me." "And Earth Command will come for me," Marcus added. Overlord Vex laughed. It was a wet, horrible sound. "Oh, I am counting on it. Do you know how much both sides will pay for their enemies? A human soldier who knows military secrets. A Veltar princess with royal blood. You are both worth more than this entire station." The truth hit Marcus like a punch to the stomach. They were not prisoners of war. They were products to be sold. The highest bidder would get them, and then he did not want to think about it. But I am a reasonable businessman, Overlord Vex continued. I will give both your people 3 days to make their offers. Then I will sell you to whoever pays more. Human or Veltar, it makes no difference to me. 3 days. Marcus felt his heart sink. Earth Command probably thought he was dead. They would not even know to look for him, and even if they did, would they pay alien criminals to get back one soldier? Princess Zarathi's markings had gone very dim. Marcus realized this. Probably meant she was feeling the same despair he was. Take them back to their cell, Overlord Vex ordered. Make sure they stay healthy. Damaged goods sell for less. The lizard guards pushed them back down the hallway. As they walked, Marcus noticed Princess Zarathi looking at the other prisoners. Her large black eyes seemed sad. You care about them, Marcus said quietly. All life has value, she replied. Even human life, though your people seem to forget this often. Marcus wanted to argue, but he was too tired, too scared, too confused by everything that had happened. Back in their cell, they sat on opposite sides of the small space. The princess pulled her knees up to her chest and stared at the wall. Her markings were barely glowing now. 3 days, Marcus said. 3 days, she agreed. Marcus looked around their prison. The walls were solid metal. The door was thick and locked from the outside. There were no windows, no other exits. The ceiling was too high to reach and looked just as solid as everything else. There has to be a way out of here, he said. Princess Zarathi looked at him. You still have hope. That is interesting. Hope is all we have right now. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, My people have a saying. The storm that breaks the tree leaves the grass untouched. Sometimes being small and flexible is better than being big and strong. Marcus did not fully understand what she meant, but he felt like she was trying to tell him something important. Outside their cell, they could hear the sounds of the station, machines working, aliens talking in different languages. Somewhere in the distance, someone was crying. Marcus closed his eyes and tried to think. 3 days to find a way out. 3 days before they were sold to the highest bidder. 3 days to prove that humans never give up, no matter how impossible things seem. He opened his eyes and looked at the alien princess. She was watching him with those large black eyes. Princess, he said. Zarathi, she corrected. Zarathi. I think we need to work together if we want to survive this. Her markings flickered slightly. Work together? A human and a Veltar? Just until we get out of here. She was quiet for a long time. Then slowly, she nodded. Just until we get out of here, she agreed. Neither of them knew that this agreement would change everything, not just for them, but for their entire peoples. The first day passed slowly. Marcus spent most of it watching the guards and studying their prison. He counted their footsteps, timed their patrols, and memorized their routines. This is what human soldiers were trained to do: observe, adapt, and find weaknesses. Princess Zarathi watched him with curiosity. Her people were taught to think carefully before acting. They made detailed plans and followed ancient rules. But this human seemed to be making things up as he went along. The bar. Guards change shifts every 6 hours, Marcus told her quietly. There are always 3 of them, but during the change there are only 2 for about 10 minutes. And what do you plan to do with this information? Zarathi asked. I don't know yet, but information is power. She tilted her head, a gesture that made her look almost bird-like. Your people think very differently than mine. How do your people think? We study everything first. We have rules for every situation. We plan for generations ahead. Her markings dimmed slightly. But all our planning did not prepare us for this. Marcus sat down across from her. Tell me about this station. You seemed to know something about it yesterday. Zarathi was quiet for a moment. Then she began to speak. Veltar children must study the maps of all known space. This station was built by the ancient precursors, the race that came before all of us. The Korthak found it floating empty and claimed it. So you know the layout? Some of it. The station has 5 levels. We are on the prison level, which is the lowest. Above us are the workers' quarters, then the markets, then the command center, and finally the docking bays at the top. Marcus felt excitement building in his chest. This was useful information. What else do you know? The precursors built secret passages throughout their stations. But finding them, she shook her head. It would take time we do not have. Maybe not, Marcus said. Humans are good at finding things that are hidden. On the second day, Marcus began putting his plan into action. When the guards brought their food, a gray paste that tasted terrible but kept them alive, he started talking to them. Hey, big guy, Marcus called to one of the lizard guards. This food is awful. Don't you have anything better? The guard just grunted and walked away. Your friend doesn't talk much, Marcus said to the second guard. Humans talk too much, the guard replied, in his broken common language. Yeah, we do that. It's a habit. So, how long have you worked here? The guard looked suspicious. Why you want to know? Just curious. I'm stuck in this cell with nothing to do. Talking helps pass the time. Princess Zarathi watched this conversation with amazement. Among her people, prisoners did not chat with their guards. It was not proper. But she began to understand what Marcus was doing. He was gathering information by being friendly. Over the next few hours, Marcus learned that the guard's name was Roth. He had worked on the station for 2 years. He did not like his job very much, but it paid well. He had a family on his home planet that he supported. You're good at that, Zarathi told Marcus later. Good at what? Making people want to talk to you. How do you do it? Marcus shrugged. I guess I just treat them like people instead of enemies. Everyone wants to be heard. That night, as they tried to sleep on the hard floor, Zarathi asked, Why did you become a soldier? Marcus was quiet for a long time. My little brother wanted to be an explorer. He loved learning about other planets, other species. When the war started, he joined the Survey Corps. He thought he could help make peace by understanding aliens better. What happened to him? His ship was destroyed during the Battle of Kepler Station. All hands lost. Marcus's voice was flat, but Zarathi could hear the pain underneath. After that, I enlisted. I thought if I could help end the war faster, maybe other brothers wouldn't die. Zarathi's markings glowed softly in the darkness. I am sorry for your loss. What about you? Why are you out here instead of safe in some palace? I was commanding a diplomatic mission, she said. My father believed that face-to-face meetings might end this war, but your people attacked our ship before we could deliver our message. Marcus turned to look at her. What message? A proposal for peace talks. They stared at each other in the dim light. Both realized that this war had cost them more than they knew. On the third morning, Marcus knew they were running out of time. Overlord Vex would make his decision soon. He had to try something, even if it was risky. I have an idea, he told Zarathi. But you're not going to like it. Tell me. During the shift change, when there are only 2 guards, I'm going to start a fight with one of them. While they're dealing with me, you slip out and try to find those secret passages you mentioned. Zarathi's markings flared bright red. That is suicide! They will kill you! Maybe, but it's better than being sold to the highest bidder. There must be another way. We're out of time, Princess. Sometimes you have to take risks. But before Marcus could put his dangerous plan into action, something unexpected happened. New prisoners were brought to the cell next to theirs. Marcus could hear them talking in human language. Sarah! Sarah! Wake up! A man's voice called out. Marcus pressed his ear to the wall. "Hey, can you hear me?" "Who's there?" the man asked. "Sergeant Marcus Chen, Earth Marines. Who are you?" "Lieutenant Paul Harrison, Earth Navy. We were captured when our scout ship was attacked. My pilot is badly hurt." Marcus felt his heart racing. Other humans were here. Maybe together they could find a way out. "How many of you are there?" Marcus asked. "Just 2. But Sarah, she's not going to make it. She needs medical help." Princess Zarathi had been listening to the conversation. Now she moved closer to the wall. "What is wrong with your friend?" she called out. "Who is that?" Lieutenant Harrison asked. "It's complicated," Marcus said. "She's helping me." "What's wrong with Sarah?" "Internal bleeding, I think. She was thrown around pretty bad when our ship was hit." Zarathi closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her markings were glowing with determination. "I know some medical techniques," she said. "If we could get to her—" "You would help a human?" Marcus asked. "Life is precious, no matter what species," she replied. "This is what I believe." Marcus stared at her. Everything he had been taught said that aliens were heartless monsters. But this alien princess was willing to risk her life to save a human she had never met. "Okay," he said. "New plan. We help the humans next door, and then we all escape together." "How?" Zarathi asked. Marcus smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. "We use the most human thing of all. We improvise." Neither of them knew that their escape attempt would fail spectacularly, but they also did not know that their failure would teach them something more valuable than freedom. They would learn to trust each other completely. The real test was about to begin. Their escape plan failed worse than Marcus could have imagined. It started when Roth, the lizard guard Marcus had befriended, agreed to help them reach the injured human pilot. But when they tried to move Sarah from her cell, she screamed in pain. The sound echoed through the entire prison level. Within seconds, alarm bells were ringing. Emergency lights flashed red. Heavy footsteps thundered down the hallway as more guards arrived. "What is happening here?" shouted the head guard, a massive alien with 4 arms and angry yellow eyes. Marcus stepped in front of Princess Zarathi and Lieutenant Harrison. "It was my idea. I forced them to help me." "Marcus, no!" Zarathi protested. "But it was too late." The head guard smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Take the human to solitary confinement. Double the guard on the others." As they dragged Marcus away, he heard Zarathi calling his name. Her voice sounded different than before. There was something in it he had never heard from an alien, genuine worry for a human life. The solitary cell was even smaller than the one he had shared with the princess. It was completely dark except for a thin line of light under the door. Marcus sat on the cold floor and tried not to think about how badly he had failed. Hours passed. Then he heard a soft tapping on the wall next to him. Tap, 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 tap. Someone was using Morse code. Marcus tapped back to show he understood. A-R-E. "I owe you okay?" the message spelled out. Marcus smiled in the darkness. It was Zarathi. Somehow she had convinced the guards to put her in the cell next to his. Y-E-S, he tapped back. H-O-W-I-S-S-A-R-A-H? S-H-E-D-I-E-D, came the reply. Marcus closed his eyes. Another human lost. Another life he could not save. He felt the familiar weight of guilt settling on his shoulders, but then Zarathi tapped again. Y-O-U-T-R-I-E-D. T-H-A-T-M-A-T-T-E-R-S. For the first time since his brother died, Marcus felt like someone understood. Not just the failure, but the trying. Among humans, effort mattered as much as success. Apparently, some aliens understood this too. They spent the next day tapping messages through the wall. Zarathi told him about Veltar culture, how they honored the dead with songs that lasted for days, how they believed every life was connected to every other life in the universe. Marcus told her about human traditions, how they remembered fallen soldiers, how they never left anyone behind if they could help it, how they kept fighting even when victory seemed impossible. Youarenotlikkeothherhumans. Zarathi tapped. Howso, Marcus replied. Youcareaboutsstrangers. Marcus thought about this. Allhumanscarewejustshowitdifferently. On the second day in solitary, something changed. The guards came and took Zarathi away. Marcus pressed his ear to the wall but heard nothing. Hours later, she was brought back. But when Marcus tapped to her, she did not respond for a long time. Finally, she tapped, THEYWANTMETOFIGHT, FIGHTWHO, OTHERPRISONERS, FORENTERTAINMENT. Marcus felt anger burning in his chest. The Korthak were going to make her fight like an animal for their amusement. He had heard about such things but never seen them. Which-E-N, he tapped, TOMORROW. Marcus made a decision that would surprise everyone, including himself. The next morning, when the guards came for Princess Zarathi, Marcus started shouting from his cell, "Hey, take me instead." The head guard stopped. "What did you say, human?" I said, "Take me instead. I'll fight in the arena. Leave the princess alone." The guard laughed. "Why would you do this? She is your enemy." Marcus looked through the small window in his cell door. He could see Zarathi being led past in chains. Her markings were dim with fear, but when she heard his voice, they flickered with surprise. "Because it's the right thing to do," Marcus said simply. The guard stopped laughing. In all his years working for the Korthak, he had never heard a prisoner volunteer to take another's place, especially not an enemy's place. "The princess is smaller," the guard said. "She will not put on as good a show. I'm a trained soldier. I know how to fight. I'll give your audience what they want." The guard considered this. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. The human fights instead." As they released Zarathi and took Marcus instead, she grabbed his arm. "Why?" she whispered. Marcus looked into those large black eyes. "Because you would do the same for me." Zarathi's markings flared bright blue. A color Marcus was learning meant deep emotion. Yes, I would," she said softly. The arena was a large circular room with seats rising up on all sides. Hundreds of aliens cheered and placed bets as Marcus was pushed into the center. The floor was covered in sand that had seen too much blood. His opponent was another prisoner, a giant insect-like creature with razor-sharp claws and acid spit. It had clearly fought in this arena before. Scars covered its armored body. Marcus had no weapons except his hands and his human ability to think quickly. As the crowd roared, he studied his opponent. The creature was strong and fast, but it moved in predictable patterns. It relied on its natural weapons, but not on strategy. The fight began. The insect creature charged at Marcus with its claws extended. Marcus dove to the side at the last second, using the creature's momentum against it. It crashed into the arena wall. The crowd cheered. They liked seeing skill, not just violence. For 20 minutes, Marcus danced around his opponent. He was faster and smarter, but the creature was stronger. Every time it landed a hit, Marcus felt his strength leaving him, but he kept fighting. Not because he wanted to win, but because he had promised to put on a show. And humans always kept their promises. In the audience, Princess Zarathi watched with amazement. She had never seen anyone fight with such determination while being so clearly outmatched. Among her people, a hopeless battle was ended quickly to preserve honor. But this human kept fighting, even when victory was impossible. Finally, Marcus made a mistake. The creature's claw caught him across the chest, sending him flying across the arena. He hit the wall hard and slid to the ground. The crowd went quiet. The creature moved in for the final strike. But Marcus got up. Bleeding, exhausted, probably with broken ribs, he got up and raised his fists again. The alien crowd had never seen anything like it. Even the creature stopped, confused by this human, who would not stay down. "Enough!" Overlord Vex's voice boomed across the arena. "Return the human to his cell. He has entertained us well." As the guards helped Marcus walk out of the arena, the alien crowd cheered. Not for his victory. He had lost. They cheered for his refusal to give up. Back in their regular cell, Zarathi used strips torn from her robes to bandage Marcus's wounds. Her touch was gentle and careful. "You are insane," she said softly. "Completely insane." "Probably," Marcus agreed, wincing as she cleaned a cut on his forehead. "But you are also brave. Braver than any warrior I have known." Marcus looked at her. "Among my people, we have a saying. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." Zarathi's markings glowed with understanding. "Is that why humans never surrender?" "We surrender when we have to," Marcus said. "But we never give up hope. There's a difference." As she finished bandaging his wounds, Zarathi realized something had changed between them. They were no longer prisoner and enemy. They were not even just allies. They were friends. And friendship, she was learning, was the most powerful force in the universe. 3 days after the arena fight, everything changed. Marcus was still healing from his wounds when new prisoners arrived. This time, they brought someone unexpected. Captain Rodriguez, Marcus's former commanding officer from Earth Command. "Chen!" Rodriguez called out when he saw Marcus through the cell bars. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet, Captain," Marcus replied with a weak smile. "Though they've been trying." Captain Rodriguez looked around the prison level with disgust. "How long have you been here?" "About a week. You?" "Just captured yesterday. Our rescue ship was ambushed." Rodriguez's face darkened. "Chen, I have bad news. The war has gotten worse. Much worse." Marcus felt his heart sink. "How bad?" "Both Earth and the Veltar homeworld are under siege. Millions are dying every day. The politicians on both sides have gone completely mad." Princess Zarathi, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. Her markings flickered with distress. "Under siege," she whispered. "My people. My family." "I'm sorry, Princess," Rodriguez said gently. "Your world is suffering too." Zarathi sank to the floor. For the first time since Marcus had known her, she looked completely defeated. Her royal training had not prepared her for the possibility that her entire civilization might be destroyed. Marcus knelt beside her. "Hey, look. At me?" She raised her large black eyes to meet his. "We're going to get out of here," he said firmly. "And we're going to find a way to stop this war." "How can we stop something so big?" she asked. "The same way humans always solve impossible problems, one step at a time." That night, Marcus, Zarathi, and Captain Rodriguez began planning the most ambitious escape attempt in the station's history. "The key is timing," Rodriguez explained. "Tomorrow is the Feast of Three Moons, a major Korthak holiday. Most of the guards will be drunk or distracted." Zarathi nodded. "And I remember more about the station's layout now. There are maintenance tunnels throughout the structure. The precursors built them for repairs." "Can you find them?" Marcus asked. "I think so, but we will need a distraction. Something big enough to draw all the guards away from the prison level." Marcus smiled. "Leave that to me. Humans are very good at causing chaos." The next evening, as alien music and laughter echoed through the station, their plan began. Marcus had spent days talking to the other prisoners, learning their stories, their skills, their desperation. Now he used that knowledge. "Listen up. Everyone!" he called out to all the cells. "Tonight we're all going home. How? Shouted a prisoner from down the hall. Together, Marcus replied. Humans have a saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Tonight, we stand together. Using hand signals he had taught them, Marcus coordinated with prisoners throughout the level. When the guards made their evening rounds, they found something they had never seen before. Prisoners working together. In cell block A, the insect, creatures used their acid spit to weaken the lock mechanisms. In block B, the shapeshifters changed forms to slip through small spaces and unlock doors from the inside. In block C, the telepathic species coordinated everyone's movements without speaking. And in the center of it all, Marcus moved like a conductor leading an orchestra of chaos. "The humans are escaping!" one guard shouted into his communicator. "All units to the prison level!" came the reply. But by the time reinforcements arrived, Marcus had already led half the prisoners to freedom through the maintenance tunnels that Zarathi had found. "This way!" Zarathi called, her markings glowing bright enough to light their path through the dark tunnels. "The command center is just ahead." As they climbed through the station's hidden passages, Captain Rodriguez shook his head in amazement. "Chen, how did you get all those different species to work together? They should have been fighting each other." "I told them the truth," Marcus replied, "that we're all stronger together than apart." They emerged in the command center level, but their celebration was short-lived. Alarms were blaring throughout the station. Emergency bulkheads were sealing shut. Overlord Vex's voice echoed from speakers everywhere. "Attention all prisoners. You cannot escape. Return to your cells now and your punishment will be light. Continue this foolishness and you will all die." "He's sealing the station," Zarathi said, studying the control panels. "He would rather kill us all than let us escape." "Can you stop it?" Marcus asked. "I can try, but I need time." "You'll have it," Marcus promised. For the next 20 minutes, Marcus and Captain Rodriguez held off waves of Korthak guards, while Zarathi worked at the computer systems. Her long fingers danced over alien controls as she used her royal education to hack into systems that most people could never understand. "I'm in," she called out finally. "But Marcus, there's something else. I've found their communication records." "What kind of records?" "Evidence. The Korthak have been selling weapons to both sides of our war. They've been making deals with extremists on both Earth and the Veltar homeworld to keep the fighting going." Marcus felt anger burn in his chest. "They've been prolonging the war for profit?" "Yes, and there's more. They have coordinates for secret meetings, payment records, everything we need to prove it." Captain Rodriguez lowered his weapon. "That information could end the war. If we can get it to the right people," Zarathi agreed. "Then that's what we're going to do," Marcus said. "But first we need to get off this station." Using Zarathi's royal access codes and Marcus's tactical knowledge, they managed to reach the docking bay. But they were not alone. Others escaped. Prisoners had made it this far, too. "We can't take everyone," Captain Rodriguez said quietly. "The ships aren't big enough." Marcus looked at all the faces around him, humans, aliens, creatures he couldn't even name, all of them looking at him with hope. "Then we make room," he said simply. "Marcus, that's impossible. The life support systems can't handle that many people." "Captain, with respect, impossible is just another word for something humans haven't figured out how to do yet." For the next hour, Marcus organized the most complex evacuation in his military career. Using cargo containers as temporary life, support chambers, jury-rigging breathing systems, and cramming beings into spaces that should have been too small, he somehow managed to fit everyone. "This violates every safety regulation in the book," Rodriguez muttered. "Good thing we're not in human space," Marcus replied. As their overcrowded ships lifted off from the station, Zarathi sat beside Marcus in the pilot's seat. Her markings were glowing with colors he had never seen before. "What do those colors mean?" he asked. "Hope," she said softly. They mean hope. Behind them, mining station Omega-7 grew smaller and smaller until it was just another star in the vast darkness of space. But ahead of them lay something even more dangerous than captivity, the chance to end a war that had consumed both their peoples. Marcus squeezed Zarathi's hand. "Ready for the hard part?" She squeezed back. "With you? I'm ready for anything." Neither of them knew that their greatest challenge was still ahead. Both human and Veltar fleets were waiting for them, and convincing enemies to become allies would require a miracle. Fortunately, Marcus was beginning to believe that miracles happened when people refused to give up hope. The alarm started screaming as soon as their escape ships entered the neutral zone. "Incoming vessels!" Captain Rodriguez shouted from the communications station. "Human fleet on the starboard side, Veltar fleet on the port side." Marcus looked out the viewport and felt his heart sink. Dozens of warships from both sides were converging on their position. The human ships were dark gray and angular, built for war. The Veltar vessels glowed with soft blue light, elegant but deadly. "They're going to destroy each other," Zarathi whispered, her markings flashing with alarm. "And us with them." "Not if I can help it," Marcus said. He moved to the communications panel. "This is Sergeant Marcus Chen of Earth Command. I'm requesting immediate ceasefire from all vessels." The response came back harsh and angry. "Chen, you're listed as dead. Identify yourself properly, or we'll treat you as hostile." Before Marcus could reply, the Veltar fleet responded on their own frequency. Zarathi translated, "They say the same thing. They think I'm dead too. They want proof of who we are." "We don't have time for proof," Marcus said, watching the fleets move closer to each other. "In about 5 minutes, they're going to start shooting." "Then we have to do something impossible," Zarathi said. "Like what?" "Make them listen before they fire." Marcus stared at her, then suddenly smiled. "You know what? You're right. Let's do something impossible." He opened communications on all frequencies, human, Veltar, and even the general emergency channel that all ships monitored. "Attention all vessels. This is Sergeant Marcus Chen of Earth Command and Princess Zarathi of the Veltar Empire. We have information that will end this war, but only if you stop shooting long enough to listen." "Impossible," came the reply from the human fleet. "Princess Zarathi is dead." "The human lies," responded the Veltar fleet. "Our princess would never work with human scum." Marcus looked at Zarathi. "Any ideas?" She closed her eyes for a moment, thinking. When she opened them, her markings were glowing with determination. "Yes, we give them something they cannot fake." She moved to the communications panel and began speaking in the ancient ceremonial language of her people. Her voice rose and fell in complex patterns that sounded almost like singing. Marcus didn't understand the words, but he could feel the power in them. The Veltar fleet went silent. "What did you say?" Marcus asked. "The oath of royal truth. Only members of the royal family know it. I swore by the lives of my ancestors that what we're about to tell them is real." "And the human fleet?" Marcus took a deep breath. "Leave that to me." He switched to the human military frequency. "Admiral Foster, if you're out there, this is Marcus Chen, serial number 7749 Alpha 6. My brother Tommy was killed at Kepler Station on March 15th. He wanted to be an explorer. You sent me a personal letter after he died. You told me that the best way to honor the dead is to protect the living. That's what I'm trying to do now. Sir." There was a long pause. Then a familiar voice came over the radio. "Chen, is that really you, son?" "Yes, sir. It's really me." "And you're with the Veltar princess?" Marcus looked at Zarathi, who nodded encouragingly. "Yes, sir. And we have evidence that will change everything." "You have 60 seconds before my trigger-happy captains start shooting. Make it count." Marcus activated the data transmission system. "Sending you files now. These are communication records from the Korthak Syndicate. They've been selling weapons to extremists on both sides, prolonging the war for profit. As the data uploaded, Marcus continued talking. Admiral, they've been manipulating both our governments, making us think the other side was more aggressive than they really were. Every time peace talks started, they would stage an attack to break them down. My God, Admiral Foster's voice came back. If this is real, it's real, sir. Princess, Zarathi and I have been prisoners together for over a week. We've seen what the war is really about. It's not about territory or resources. It's about the Korthak getting rich while our people die. On the Veltar frequency, Zarathi was having a similar conversation with her own fleet commander, her uncle, Prince Velanor. Uncle, the humans are not what we thought. They're not monsters. They're people just like us. They love their families. They mourn their dead. They fight for the same things we fight for. But Zarathi, they attacked our sacred worlds because the Korthak told them we were building weapons there, just as they told us the humans were planning to destroy our colonies. Uncle, we've been fighting shadows while the real enemy counted. They're prophets. For several minutes, both fleets studied the evidence. Marcus and Zarathi waited, holding their breath. Finally, Admiral Foster's voice came back over the radio. Chen, this evidence is overwhelming. If it's genuine, it changes everything. It's genuine, Admiral. I stake my life on it. You already have, son. You already have. But even as the human fleet began to stand down, the situation was far from over. Some of the younger, more aggressive captains on both sides wanted to keep fighting. This could be a trick, one human captain shouted over the radio. How do we know the aliens aren't lying? How do we know the humans aren't using our princess as a puppet? Came a similar response from the Veltar side. Marcus realized that evidence alone wasn't enough. People needed to see that cooperation was possible. Admiral Foster, requesting permission to come aboard your flagship. Granted. But Chen, yes, sir? You're bringing the princess with you, aren't you? Marcus looked at Zarathi. She nodded firmly. Yes, sir. We're coming together. Son, half my crew will want to arrest her on sight. Then they'll have to arrest me too, Admiral, because I'm not leaving her behind. 20 minutes later, Marcus and Princess Zarathi walked side by side onto the bridge of the human flagship. The crew stared in shock. Many of them had never seen a living Veltar before, except through weapon sights. But what shocked them most was seeing their sergeant, a decorated war hero, standing protectively next to an alien princess, treating her as an equal. Crew of the Endeavor, Admiral Foster announced. I want you to meet Princess Zarathi of the Veltar Empire. She risked her life to bring us the evidence that could end this war. Zarathi stepped forward. Her markings glowed softly as she spoke, in carefully pronounced human words. People of Earth Command, I know you have reasons to hate my kind. We have given you many such reasons. But hatred will not bring back your dead, just as it will not bring back mine. Only peace can honor those. We have lost. The bridge was silent. Then slowly one young officer began to clap. Others joined in until the entire bridge was applauding. Over the next several hours, similar scenes played out on Veltar ships as Marcus spoke to alien crews, sharing his story of cooperation and friendship. By the end of the day, both fleets had agreed to a ceasefire. More importantly, they had agreed to joint investigations into the Korthak conspiracy. 3 months later, Marcus and Princess Zarathi stood before the Galactic Council as the first human Veltar diplomatic team in history. The war was officially over. The Korthak Syndicate had been disbanded, and two civilizations that had been mortal enemies were now working together to build a better future. You know, Marcus said as they watched human and Veltar children playing. Together in the council gardens, a few months ago, I thought aliens were monsters, and I thought humans were savages. Zarathy replied, her markings glowing with warm golden light. What changed? She smiled, an expression she had learned from humans. I met one human who showed me that the best way to judge people is not by their species, but by their actions. He taught me that courage, kindness, and hope are universal languages. Marcus smiled back. And I learned that sometimes the best thing about being human is helping others discover their own humanity. Above them, human and Veltar ships patrolled together, protecting trade routes that now carried goods instead of weapons. It wasn't a perfect peace. There were still problems to solve, prejudices to overcome, and trust to build. But it was a beginning. And for humans, a beginning was always enough.